Hi everyone, Richard Knox here. Welcome back to the Outpost. As you can see, it was kind of a rainy day today. I got off work this morning and I headed out here to the property to try to do something, and it actually quit raining on the way out here. But thank goodness that the rain stopped. I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm actually grateful for it because the farmers, they need it, and it does make the hay grow very well. So anyway, this wood that's behind me here, this is the slab wood from the poplar logs that I'm using for the timber frame, and this is what we're going to use on our bushcraft base camp, which, as you can tell, it's really good lumber. So this should last a while when we get it built. I have another log on the sawmill already. Let's cut a log. I managed to get that beam finished, so what I thought I would do is take a few minutes and kind of do a tool review and talk about my tractor. I've had some comments on especially the attachment that I've got on the back. This tractor I bought last year in July, which it's a lot more useful and functional than the old blue Ford tractor that you may have seen in some of the pictures that I started out with. But I traded it in. I needed something that I could use that was better suited for hauling and transporting logs, so I needed something actually with a front end loader on it. Because I began to wonder, you know, on the sawmill I can always roll the logs up onto the sawmill, but it would be easier if I was able to pick them up. Anyway, the tractor is a Kubota 3901. It's a diesel. It's got like a 39 horsepower diesel engine on it, and it's actually stout for its size. So far it seems to do the job that I need to do around here, but I made several modifications to it. As you can see right here, I actually had two brackets welded onto the bucket where I could screw these hooks on, one here and one on the other side, so that it's very useful for taking like this strap, hooking on here and going around a log and being able to pick it up, move it and transport it, lift it up on the sawmill and so forth. As well, you can hook up chains if you want to pull something, or if the straps didn't actually work, you could actually, you know, put the chain on here as well. This right here is the original toolbox that came on the tractor. It was actually mounted behind the seat on the rear, and I needed a way to haul more tools in case I was out in the bush and needed something. I didn't have to go all the way back to the sawmill or to my truck, you know, in order to get a tool. So what I did is I purchased a larger toolbox. I actually took this one off of the back and drilled a couple of holes in this plate right here and mounted it to the front, which this is the guard for the front of the tractor. If I didn't have the bucket on the front, this would guard the front portion of the tractor. But if I'm bush hogging or using the tractor in the woods or anything like that, I generally keep the bucket up maybe a foot or two off of the ground, turn the bucket and use it kind of like a brush guard, if you will, so that I don't hit anything. But this I primarily use for my tractor pins and keys and things of that nature, some nuts and some bolts. So it comes in handy to have a lot of storage compartment. Another modification that I made was the ability to be able to transport chains so that I could use them to pull logs or trees that I may have cut down and I need to pull them out of the way. But a lot of times when you mount a chain on the back of the tractor, you're bouncing up and down, going through the field or whatever, it kind of works itself loose, and sometimes you drop it and then you have to turn around and go back and get it. And I got to looking one day, and my neighbor has a tractor somewhat similar to mine, and he had taken this idea right here and modified his tractor. And what this is primarily, this is a 4-inch piece of PVC that was cut off. I've got a coupling and a cap on the end of it. I sawed it off about 6 inches out, and I left about 2 inches to go up in the hole. This hole here actually was just part of the mount that you might be able to see back here on the tractor that stabilizes the bucket. But anyway, it took just a little bit of sanding for this to get started to go in there, and it was we drove it in with a 2x4 and a mallet, and it's up in here about 2 inches. It will not go anywhere. But what I do is I'm able to use this area, which is about 12 to 14 inches, that was just a voided space, but I'm able to store my chains up in there, and they don't actually fall off, or I don't lose them or anything. And then when I'm done with them, I just shove them back up in here and put the cap on. I did mount one on this side, and I have one on the other side as well. Normally I keep a small chain on one side and my larger chain on the other. Another modification that I thought would come in handy, a lot of times when I would pack up and I would get ready to go to the woods, I would get my oil and my gas and my chainsaws, axes, things that I needed. I'd throw them in the bucket. Then when I would get up into the woods to where I needed to go, I would have to unload that to be able to use the tractor so that I didn't dump it. And another time I was out in the woods and I actually needed the chainsaw and I didn't have it with me. I had come up to a tree that had fallen and I wanted to get it out of the way, and I tried to pull it. It was still part of the root system was still there, and I needed the saw, so I had to walk all the way back up to the woodshed and get it. Anyway, so I thought, well, I need to figure out a way that I can mount the chainsaw on the tractor. That way I will have it with me all the time, unless I forget to put it on the tractor. But anyway, I got to looking, and I was able to figure out a way to mount the chainsaw right here on the left side, since the chainsaw is made where the body of it points to the left. I was able to find a spot where all I had to do was take a couple of the bolts loose. I had to make myself a bracket, and I bolted it on the inside of the fender well and used one of the chainsaw bar covers to go on it and actually bolted that in place. So it's right here, and I can take my chainsaw and it will fit either this small chainsaw or it will fit my large one, and I can just slide it right down into that chain cover and it will ride right there. It's out of my way. I can maneuver and steer the tractor, and it's really handy to have that right there in the event that you need it. As I said, the toolbox, the small toolbox that I showed you on the front, used to be mounted back here. It was on this little bitty bar and only took up so much space. What I decided to do was buy a larger box to where I could transport a whole lot more stuff and move that other one somewhere else, or put it up, or you know, get rid of it or whatever. But I did decide to move it up front. But I happened to be in Rural King one day, and I seen this box and I thought, well, it looks like about the right size, and I'll go ahead and get it. It didn't cost but like, I think, $19.95, and if it doesn't fit, you know, it wasn't a great expense. But as you can see, this bar right here, this is the same on both sides. This box just happens to have a small indention right here, and when I brought it home, it actually fit. It was really tight going in there, but enough pushing down, enough pressure pushing down, actually wedged it in here. And then what I did was I took a couple of bolts, the plate that the other one was mounted on, I drilled those in a different spot to fit this box, and I mounted that, and it's nice and sturdy. It will not go anywhere. So this has allowed me the ability to be able to carry a lot more tools, screwdrivers, side cutters, hammers, cable ties, anything that I think that I might need when I get out in the bush, down there in the field, or whatever. So this has really come in handy as well. The latest modification that I have is this attachment that I have engineered on the back of the tractor. The tractor, in order to lift logs like I'm cutting, the front end is rated at 1,100 pounds. When you pick something up that heavy, then the rear end kind of gets a lot more lightweight. So you need some sort of a counterbalance. Well, this box blade, it provides a great counterbalance to the bucket. I don't know exactly how much this weighs. If I was guessing, probably around 400 or 500 pounds. Still yet, when I get a very heavy log on, like maybe 1,000-pound log on the front, which is just about as much as that front end can lift, even with this weight on the back, it can still get a little bit front end heavy, but this helps to counterbalance that really well. There were several times when I had cut logs from a fairly large tree that was just a little bit too heavy for the front end. I have learned how to use the front end as opposed to lifting straight up. I can kind of pull back on the bucket and lift the log that is really rated heavier than the front end to be able to pick up. I can pull it up and I can transport it, but logs that are that heavy, I really don't want to ruin that front end. So I thought, you know, this boom pole I had bought for the old blue tractor, and I thought, because you know, that's the way that I was going to actually move these logs, because it didn't have a front end loader. Anyway, I had this and I thought, well, you know, I can always hook this up and I can pull the logs if they're too heavy to lift. I can get them up here to the sawmill and I can push them up onto the sawmill to be able to cut them up. Well, then came the point where I would have to take off the box blade and I would have to attach this to the tractor to be able to pull the log. Well, this in itself is not heavy enough to leave on the tractor to use as a counterbalance for moving and transporting logs. So I thought, well, how can I engineer this and put it on the tractor to be able to utilize it when I need it? And besides the fact that, you know, I need a little bit of extra weight on the back. Now this item here probably weighs maybe 200 pounds, if that much. but it does provide some extra weight. And so I got to thinking about it, and I figured out a way to engineer it on the back of the box blade and leave it permanent, or I did put pins in it where it's just a quick connect where I can take it off if I need to, because I didn't want it permanently attached. I didn't want to weld it. So came up with the idea to weld some brackets. As you can see, this bracket right here is just about a 2.5 inch to 3 inch wide by 4 to 5 inch piece of 1/2 inch steel that my neighbor happened to have lying around in his machine shop up there. So I went up there one day talking to him about it. He said, yeah, we can fix that. So what we did is we welded it onto the main body of the box blade, and then with this thing just resting on top of this right here, it provided enough width between this bar and the other one over there to whereas if we added that with a small shim in between, it doesn't rack back and forth, and we can use that pin, go through there, drop in the tractor pin on the other side, and that is held in place right here, and it rests on top of this so that when I lift up, it puts pressure down on the bottom of the box blade, or actually on the top of the box blade. The other thing that I needed to figure out was how to take the 3-point hitch and be able to attach it to the box blade. As you can see, the top of the box blade here, the box blade itself is attached to 2 arms on the bottom of the tractor on the bottom portion. On the top, you have a top link here which is attached to the center of the tractor, and then you have a pin that goes through here to hold it. And of course you can screw the top pin in and out so that you can actually level the blade, and then there's adjustments on the arm that kind of tilts the blade left or right if you need to. Anyway, so since it had a second hole down here for you to be able to move this down where you can actually pick it up higher or tilt it in farther, what you need to do, since it was working fine the way that it was, I decided to go ahead. This is the top link that was left from the old blue tractor that I had. So I decided to use it. I had to screw it in all the way, put the pin in here, and then this attachment actually had a couple of holes as well, and I was able to run this top link over to here, put a pin through it, and actually I can actually tighten this as well. I can lean it in or out if I need to, but with this in the all the way up position, it works just fine. It makes this level, and I mean, it has worked out quite well as far as transporting and pulling logs and things of that nature, anything else I need it for. I also have, this is a pulley, and I have about a 200-foot cable as well as a 100-foot cable that I can actually use a small chain, hook it up around the base of a tree, and I can either use the ladder, climb up in a tree, put a chain around it or a choker, and put pressure on it if it's leaning in the wrong direction, and I can pull it in the opposite direction. I can take the chainsaw, well, use the tractor, pull the tension out of the line, and put pressure on that tree, then use the chainsaw, and it will fall in the direction that I need it to go. So I always keep this right here, which is just another pin in this second hole that I can pop out at any time, so it's always with me as well. So yeah, that's the boom mounted to a box blade with 2 3-point hitches in series. As you can see, I keep my chains hooked up here all the time. I've got them fastened off where they're really easy to get to. I just have to unhook them. I've got a small 4-foot chain right here for taking these chokers right here, putting them on a log, and just reaching and snapping them on this small chain and lifting them up and going. As well, I've got a 10-foot chain right here, which is a small one that I use this primarily all the time. But anyway, this one is ready to go. And then I have a 20-foot chain right here. As you might can see on the back, I've also got a hook with a couple of clevises. It's mounted here, it's ready to go. I can hook anything onto this and pull, as well as a couple of clevises here, U-type clevises, that if I need to get closer to the tractor and put more weight towards the base of the tractor, I can actually use this and hook it up here, lift up, and go as well. So this was a lifesaver as far as being able to use the tractor to either pull a log or lift it from the front. It provides a great counterbalance, and it's a multifunctional tool as well. It's getting very cloudy. It's fixing to storm again. But also, you can see this ball, hitch and ball down here. I would have to take the tractor loose as well to move the trailer when I take the slab wood off of the sawmill, throw it on the trailer so that I can transport it and give it to someone or cut it up with firewood or whatever. So I came up with a way to, had a 4-inch piece of steel welded onto here that was the size of the inner diameter of this hitch, drilled a hole in it, put that in there. Then I had to stabilize it because this metal is not that thick. So I ran 2 stabilizer bars, welded them onto the hitch, ran them up top, drilled another hole right here, put another pin, and this stabilizes it from going up and down if the weight on the trailer is very heavy, and it's there to stay. So this way I can actually back up to my trailer, lift up on the trailer into the ball, hook it up, pull the trailer wherever I need to go. It comes off very easy with just a pin on the bottom and a pin on the top, and as well as the boom snaps apart if I need them to use them separately. So it's quite a little bit of engineering right here, but it's a really great combination, and it works well, especially in logging. It's really starting to rain really hard. Figured I'd better get in before I got myself and my equipment really wet. The thing about the Smoky Mountains is that you can get flash floods and flash thunderstorms and rain as well in just a short period of time. Well, that's the tool review on my tractor and the modifications that I have made to it. Having that trailer hitch down here rigged up where I could just back up to the trailer, lift up on it, hook up to it, pull it wherever I need to, unload, bring it back, set it up again without having to take that off as well is a great asset. Everything is put together with quick connects where you just have the pin and the key lock. So everything, it comes off really quick if I need it to. I pretty much leave it like this all the time. I can still actually use the box blade going forward. If I need to push stuff backwards, of course I would take the ball off. But it's still functional in that manner. It still serves as a counterweight to the front with the addition of this extra 200 pounds on the back, so I'm assuming I've probably got somewhere between 500 to 700 pounds on the back counterweight, as well as the fluid that is in the tires also. If anybody has this type of equipment and has a use for it like I do and has never thought about something like this, then maybe you can use this idea here to modify your own tractor and be able to create a multifunctional tool out of yours as well. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut this video short. It's going to start raining again. I just want to say thank you for watching. If you like these videos, be sure and hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that little bell down there as well, so that when we get new videos loaded up. So far I've been able to do at least once a week, and so I'm going to try to continue in that direction. But it'll notify you whenever we get a new video up. But just want to say that hope everyone has a great weekend. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope to see you up at the outpost in the future. Just want to say take care, be safe, and make a difference.